So today we're going to talk about drama webs. Everyone's heard of drama triangles, but no one's. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of a drama web. Has anyone heard of a drama web? What, have you heard that term before? Okay, maybe that's a Dr. Gill original. Not sure, but you know them because you've all been in them. So a web. What is a web? A web is from a spider. A web looks kind of like this. It's kind of like a geometrical thing, and it sort of looks, and it has like connections over there, which then are other connections, right? That kind of connect, form other connections. This is what a web looks like. And so that's a web. Webs are made by spiders. Webs are made by spiders to do what? Yeah, to catch prey. So, and specifically flies. That's what webs are designed to. They're anchored on, some posts. Tree or something, and they're kind of in. Can you see a web easily, or are they hard to see? They're kind of hard to see, right? Like you're kind of, so they're hard to see. They're sticky, aren't they? Things stick to them, and once it sticks, it doesn't come off.
If you get some in your hair, it's the worst.
Oh yeah, you get them in your hair, you can't get them out, right? They're lethal, right? Why are they lethal? Why are they deadly?
For flies?
Yeah.
They stick to it and they can't move.
And they just relax, or do they get eaten? Or sucked dry?
Yeah.
One of the two, right? Depends on the spider. So they're lethal, they're dangerous. They're very dangerous, right? You get like... Sorry? Okay. So these are all the characteristics of webs. Do you get first class treatment when you're stuck to a web, or is it kind of like a prison? It's a little bit like a prison, isn't it? It's a prison because you can't move. It's too sticky. But once you're there, heck, you may even see the spider coming, but you can't move. What kind of feelings do you think, if you're a fly on the web and you know a spider's coming, what kind of feeling would be coming up?
Loss of control.
Powerlessness?
Fear.
Fear?
Death.
Death?
Death.
Death. So like doom. Feel like death is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a kind of, actually I would say terror. Probably a better word. Terror. Terror is like the when there's fear and then there's terror. Right? Terror is something that everyone knows. To some degree. Okay, so these are all characteristics of a web. So drama so what is drama? Drama, is that triangle, right? What are the three aspects of a drama triangle? What are the 3 points of the triangle?
Victim.
Okay, so you got a victim, What?
Rescuer.
rescuer,
This one.
rescuer, and perpetrator. And they interact, and together they form a triangle. Are triangles weak or are they strong?
Strong.
Yeah, you can't compress a triangle, because when you try to push a triangle, the force gets neutralized. That's why triangles are strong. They naturally evolve. And so the reality, so everyone understands that, oh yeah, I have a dramatic relationship with this person or that person. But actually, you're stuck in a web of dramatic relationships. So, a web where, so imagine, think about it. So you got one triangle here, right? Have you ever had a girlfriend or a boyfriend and broke up but you shared some friends? Something like that? Or you were there a long time and then you kind of and then it didn't work out, but then you have the shared connections. Is it awkward? Yeah, it's awkward, right? So you have you might have one triangle involving 3 people, but let's say there's a group of 8 friends. Well, you know what that's going to look like? It's going to look like something like this. You know? And then you put it on Facebook. I broke up, and now it's on Facebook. And so then you have kind of you're kind of growing the web, aren't you? You're sort of growing the shape, adding more victimization. I read on Facebook that you were a jerk to this person. Why'd you do that? I'm like, what the heck do you know? But anyways, that's just, it adds, right? It's like, it just adds. And the longer that time goes on, yeah, sure, you may disintegrate some of these lines by being all assertive and all that. I'm telling you why you fail. This is why you fail. This is one of the biggest reasons why you fail. Is you have an assertive therapy moment. Yeah, I'm gonna stand up for myself. Good. But you keep on building the web. Just maybe address the one thing, and maybe you're doing therapy, and you're crossing out some of these lines, but unknowingly or knowingly, you continue to extend the web with your day-to-day patterns of living. And so the longer you go, the more complicated life gets. Because every day, new people. Or you strengthen old ones. You get rid of this one, and then you strengthen this one. One guy said to me, I just need to send this email or something to this somebody is victimizing someone else. So there's like this, and this person's in the middle of it, and he's gonna send an angry letter to this person, and then it's all gonna be done. Seriously? When he does that, he sends the letter, and all he's doing this. When he sends that angry letter, he's just reinforcing. He's like reversed, so he's like perpetrating against that person, so then he's strengthening the line. And he thinks he's going to be done, but every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's a law of physics. If I push on this wall, it pushes back on me. That's why my hand hurts. Right? I can't just push on this wall, the wall pushes back. So the wall takes some damage, my hand takes some damage. It's neutral. That's the law of physics. So if this person sends the letter, he perpetrates, then this person's got to do something with that. And chances are they're going to take it out on the victim. That's what they're already doing. It's going to strengthen that, and that person, he's going to be like, but Joe, he did it again. But it keeps happening. And clearly this person is not able to help, so you reach out for a new friend. And continue to extend the web. Every extension of the web reinforces the web. And so most people, by the time they come to see anything like us or a therapist, they've been doing this for decades. People think it's like just the abusive ex, or it's just I'm just in a messy divorce, right? People come in, they're like all depressed and anxious or drinking or something. They're in a messy divorce and they think to themselves, oh yeah, I just need to, not have this person just needs to go away and I'll be okay. Or people say, I just need to stop drinking. And then this problem will get better, and yet they have this like web that they've grown. They just don't even know it. Their pattern of communicating is as a perpetrator, as a rescuer, and as a victim, and it's all three. No one is only a victim in life. That may offend you if you've been victimized, but it's just the truth. My apologies. If you've been victimized, then you've been made powerless, and powerlessness is kind of like a vacuum, has to be filled. Powerlessness builds resentment energy, and when that, I did an Academy on this, when you kind of, every act of victimization adds a line, and at some point you tolerate it, your resentment grows, you don't perpetrate, but when it blows, bang, you do it. How do you do it? You post it on Facebook. You do that thing he really hates, and he hates, but you just do it. But you don't, you kind of passive aggressive about it. You do it in a safe way, in your mind, but it does get done. That's why there's no victims. Where everywhere there's a victim, there's a perp. Everywhere there's a perp, there's a rescuer. Everywhere there's a rescue, there's a victim. Everyone is all things, because to be human is to be all things. If you're not all things, you're not human. If you're not human, you must be a robot. If you're a robot, you don't have a depression problem. You don't have an addiction problem. But you do have a Star Trek, data,
Yeah.
You got an inhuman problem. I can't help that. I don't know much about that. This is the AI years. So. But if you're a human, so what that basically means, if you're a human, then that means you come from a drama web. Just webs. If you come from a hard childhood, what happens is your family system that growing up gets imprinted in the mind. And so this web can be outside in your social set network. It can also be inside your mind. It's both things. We have parts inside of us that are also perpetrating on us. And those parts you can know. You do know. You know these parts. You're nothing. You're never good enough. You're never doing this. You're never doing that. You need to do more of this. You need to do more of that. Yeah. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's good, but it could have been better. You suck. You fail. You know, these are the voices of an internal perpetrator. Okay? It usually sounds like mom or dad. That's where it comes from mostly. But the point is that we have internal perpetrators. And where there's perpetrators, there's rescuers. So little parts of you will be rescuing you. So some part will pop up, no, you are good, yeah. And then there'll be the part of you that just takes it. It's like, yeah, I'm bad. Yeah, I am worthless. No. It's all, no. Right? A web. A web is the reality. Because no relationship is just straight simple. At any given moment, and so let's say you're in like a rescuer mode, and you talk to somebody. Inevitably, you'll be extending whatever you say. If you're amygdala's firing, you're doing the rescue thing, you're gonna extend the web. The web will grow. Your life will become more complicated because if you're rescuing someone, when you're rescuing people, it's like imagine like someone's like just swimming, right? They're swimming and they're doing their thing in the water, and you think they're struggling, so you jump in to help them. And then they're like, dude, I'm fine. Like, it's awkward. And then you think, oh man, I jumped in just to help you, and you're not changing nothing. Resentment builds. Resentment builds. Rescue, you feel powerless. You're seeing someone suffer, they're not helping themselves, or someone's hating on them and you can't stop it, so the resentment built in it eventually results in bang, perpetration. So this is always happening, and if you don't know that it's happening, you're creating a network of relationships that are dramatic. And by the time you start seeking help, you're as helpless as a fly stuck in the web, and that big spider that's going to come and eat you is called addiction, mental health. Whatever your symptom is, but something's going to come and eat you, is eating you. Spiders don't eat you, most of them. They suck you dry. You know that? Yeah, they don't like eat you. Most of them. Some of them do, I think. They like suck you. Drain you like a vampire. Sometimes they do it all at once. More often, actually, I don't know. I'm not an entomologist, but the point is that addiction, whatever that is, that PTSD. People with PTSD think that they're like, yeah, they're suffering. But people with PTSD need to understand that if they don't deal with that, they will eventually end in a situation of post-traumatic decline, where the system can't actually handle all the information, walled off in this complex web of whatever, and it starts breaking down, unable to maintain. Then you can't concentrate, you can't think straight, you can't sleep well, and then that makes it worse. And so then you lose energy, chronic fatigue, all these things. That's post-traumatic decline. That can happen at any age, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, usually when we see it. I'd say 40s, 50s, 60s. Midlife crisis, that's usually when it starts to really, but if it's been bad, you might get it earlier. The point is, when people come and they've lived their life for 20 years, creating these massive webs of family, a lot of it's family. Now, you might say to me, oh, well, Dr. Gill, I only ever talked to 6 people in my life. You can still have a complex web like that, but what's that look like? Instead of mom being at one place, mom is in many places. Now you might ask, that doesn't make any sense. But actually it does when you think about it, because how you relate to people, we all have different, in the West they say hats, right? You have when you're in one role, you relate a certain way. let's say your doctor is also your neighbor. So when you're mowing the grass together, he's your doctor or he's your neighbor. You're going to talk about the football game. You're going to talk about this and that, and when you're seeing him or her in the office, you're going to be talking about hemorrhoids or like rashes in don't look kind of places and test results. Generally, you're not going to like hey doc, can you look at my butt here? It's kind of itching. You're not going to do that, right? You're going to relate to them as separate in the separate situations, and you do that. You do that with mom, with dad. There might be mom as like nurturer, rescuing, mom as like a demon who's terrorizing you, mom as a friend, and every shade in between. So even though you don't know many people, you can just as easily be stuck. Actually, to be honest with you, when you don't know many people, the webs are just more intricate. There's more mental mind games. There's more manipulation. Because it's just energy. It has to be organized somehow. If it's not filed away properly, then there will be more energy that's going to create a complex system of dysfunction that's going to hold it all together. Because you got to hold it all together. Otherwise, you're going to die of suicide. That's what happens. When this falls apart, people die of overdose and suicide. But if you're watching this video or if you're here, you're not dead. You don't look dead. Which is good. Because your system's holding together all the dysfunction. And my point is, until you deal with the drama web, right? Go beyond the triangle, see your life as a web. The problems in your life are tied together in a web. Unless you see the whole of that, you will never, and start to actually work on that, you won't get sober. If you think sobriety is recovery, you're mistaken, because if you have an addiction problem for any length of time, you've had to create a web to sustain the dysfunction. Recovery is the dismantling of that web. Not quickly, but slowly, just work on a little bit. If it's a mom thing, the first step with mom issues is always limit and just, if you have to talk to mom, you have to draw boundaries around what you talk about. If you have to talk to mom, now if it's like demon mom all the time and it's just toxic, maybe you shouldn't talk to mom for a period of time until you're mentally not going to get triggered at every vowel she says. But if you have to talk to mom, you might say, okay, mom, just not going to talk about this one thing. I can't do it. But we can talk about the weather. We can talk about the baking. We can talk about the cookies. Just not going to talk about what your opinions are of my other brother, or what your opinions are of my personal life, or this or that. You draw boundaries, right? And in doing so, you're cutting out a little bit of the drama web. Some points are going to be more critical. Maybe you have a therapist or you sponsor someone. You're going to talk it out. Sometimes you have to just leave people. Just like go. Some things can happen faster. Some things can happen slowly. But this is why we say recovery is a journey. It takes time. Now, if all your friends are drug-using, abusing, gang-banging kind of people, gangs are webs. They're just webs like this. Webs can have healthy parts too. I'm drawing the dysfunction. But not all aspects of the web are insalvageable. Some parts of the webs are good. Some parts of the webs are toxic. Some parts of the web needs to be repurposed. Some parts of the web there is no repurposing. Block. But a web has to be dealt with, and do not be in denial. If you are a human, if you suffer from any serious mental illness or addiction, you're in a web. That's why people are looking for the pills, right? Take a pill, take my depression away. Oh, if your depression is caused by you being in a prison, drama webs, do they feel like prison? Yeah, you're kind of messed up if you do this. You're messed up if you don't do that. If you invite Sally to the dinner, she's gonna be happy, but then Joe's gonna be really upset. And if you don't invite Sally, then Mom's gonna be upset. It's prison, right? It's prison because it's invoking powerlessness. You're afraid of what one person's gonna say. And if it's a certain person, it's gonna be terror. So you're just gonna act with it, but what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pander. And so recovery helps you rewind the web. That's kind of the thing. The only way to revive the web, or revise the web so that it becomes a recovery web as opposed to a, recovery web, is, slowly. You take it down too quickly, it all falls apart. So, connect to self and source, connect to others. Because when you're stuck in a web, you don't know what to do. If you don't connect to other people, you think, just like that guy, if I just send this one last, I've been there, just one last email explaining this and just, they're going to get it, and then they're going to stop. And then it continues. And worse, because now you've given vulnerable material, right? You wore your heart on your sleeve, and and then now they're going to throw it in your face. Today, tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years later, right? They're going to hang on to it because it's all drama web stuff. That's why you need to connect to other people, and not like other people, random people in recovery, people who have something to teach you, people who can see more than you. Or people you can teach, and in teaching, learn more about yourself. Connect to others isn't just like go and have a barbecue and drink. It is to teach or to learn. That's why we connect to others, because I assure you that's the only exit point out of this mess. And daily practice. It's got to be daily, because otherwise, you're just going to extend the web. Unknowingly. You're not fools. No fools here. You're not knowingly doing this to yourself. Some masochists that plan it, but they're not fools. They're doing a purpose. Or you're doing it for someone else. But it doesn't change the fact that it's happening. So, drama webs. Now you know. There's some questions here. Speak, please. Yes, go ahead.
So, I'm just going back to maybe another analogy you made. Is the rescuer kind of like that friend who affirms your beliefs and kind of doesn't challenge them?
We call that cosigns your BS. Yeah, that's a rescuer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, he shouldn't have done that. Even not knowing what he did, not knowing anything, but just affirming because I know you're a good person. I know you care. You wouldn't do anything to her. Garbage. Everybody perpetrates. Everybody is victimized. Everybody rescues. If you think that your person is just a golden child, but their life is you can see from the outside. It's always easier to see this from the outside. And their life looks like this. They're no golden child. They're no like spring chicken. Is that what the saying is? They're no spring chicken. I don't know. That's not the. They're no like newborn who's like helpless or yes, enablement. There's a lecture that I made on enablement a while ago, and that you can consult with, and then many on drama. Well, this concept of drama webs we haven't really talked about. So, yes, this web will be littered with people like that. And actually it's very lethal. You'll think to yourself, perpetrators are like the bad people. It's actually rescuers that keep the system churning. Rescuers, the rescuing is the worst. It keeps people stuck for a very long time. And rescuing is not just not helpful, it's like stabbing a knife into the heart of the person that you're rescuing. But no rescuer will think that. They're being helpful. Because helping, coaching, can look similar to rescuing. And so it is very, very important to reflect on what you're doing when you're talking and listening to somebody vent. Listening to venting is never helpful. It's never helpful to vent, it's never helpful to listen to venting. It drags you both down. It elongates and strengthens the web. It makes it harder to take down. But there's an awful lot of rescuing that sustains dysfunction, and then it's only a matter of time. Let's say you are the close personal bestie of someone who's in like a violent relationship, and you've been like listening to them vent. And because you're listening to them all the time, vent, they stay in it, but they're in this. And the nature of this is the energy increases. And at some point, that perpetration is going to become homicidal. And does. And then that person's dead. And everyone's going to be in a hurry to put the perpetrator in jail. But I want you to think about it. What about the rescuers that listened to them? That kept this thing from getting to a head a lot sooner. Just give them time. Just give them time. Collectivist cultures are full of this. Horrible relationship dynamic. And the family is like, just give them time. Just give them time. It doesn't push the person towards resolving what is obviously a dysfunctional dynamic. And at some point, the time runs out. But no one's putting these people in jail. But I just want to explain. This is just Dr. Gill's take, so feel free to disagree. I'm just trying to put it in perspective how deadly this is. And when we house people, we see how deadly this is. We see it, and it's a very, very hard thing to work with because it's so benign looking. Great question, thank you. Yes.
Can I say also sometimes I feel like the rescuer is the perpetrator for the perpetrator, who is the perpetrator for the victim. Because sometimes if you're in, say you're like in a triangle with friends, like your friend is the perpetrator, you're the victim.
So you're in a web, you're in a drama web.
Yeah, yeah. So the rescuer also has something like against the perpetrator, some negative feelings, so then they instantly become your rescuer to use that as an excuse to be the perpetrator to the other person, to make the other person the victim.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know? It's like, it's an age-old thing. When you start looking at your life through this lens, you'll suddenly see what your life is, what your social life is. And this is the reason why sometimes you need a break. You need to go away into treatment somewhere and just not have your phone. People hate it when we take their phones. They don't like giving up their phones. This is why we take the phones, though. Because while their phone is there, they're on social media, they're getting perpetrated against, or they're perpetrating against someone else, and it's all continuing, and it disrupts the delicate process of learning. You need safety to learn. If you're in the middle of this, so I learned this, some person was trying to exit like a gang-banging crazy thing. I don't know I don't know. It just seemed dangerous. And this person tells me, yeah, you can't just up and leave. You got to plan this thing. I hadn't, until that point, this was years and years ago, but I hadn't treated a lot of domestic violence. And then I talked to the domestic violence shelter person, and then they gave me all the stats on how dangerous it is to leave. And then I started working in a housing capacity with people like this, and then it's like, you need to plan this stuff. You can't just up and leave. But you need sometimes a break to get a perspective on what you need to do. If you don't have a map of where you're going, dismantling a drama web becomes harder and harder, and sometimes dangerous. And the reason I share this is simply, do not think your problems simply end when you stop using drugs, or when you stop having nightmares, or you stop being depressed. That's why you take an antidepressant. I'm not anti-antidepressants, whatever, if it helps you, great. But the thing is it doesn't take away your web, but sometimes an antidepressant can function like a rescuer. It can sustain what really shouldn't be sustained. If you have toxic stress to that point in your life, where severe change is needed, serious, deep change is needed, then perhaps you'd be better off having a lot of emotion to drive you towards making a change. That's going to undo some of the pressure. So I'm not anti-antidepressants, but I definitely want you to think about what's your motive. Are you taking antidepressants so you can do the recovery activity, that eventually do the work, the recovery work, self-therapy work, that you can get yourself unstuck? Or are you just going to take it to sustain what is a dysfunctional dynamic? And that's why people, after a couple of years, one antidepressant doesn't work, so they have to go to another one, change it. And they play this game when really the game is about the web. And the longer this web goes on, the more pressure it exerts on every point. The more flies that get stuck, the more spiders that are sucking away. So, yes, absolutely, that is a very common thing, actually. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. What do they call it? They call it trauma bonding. This is one of the words for it. It's like, people you hate someone, you hate someone's guts, but you go through the same thing together, then you kind of have a bond. But interesting thing about that bond, you might think it's all bygones are forgiven, but actually it's one of these things. It's quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, until one day I don't, and now we got a drama thing. We always had a drama thing, it was just under the surface. So really examine your relationships. Some simple principles can help you decode this. In the principles, it's called, if you're going to speak, ask yourself, are you extending the web, or are you dismantling it? Every word you speak, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this necessary? Do I need to do this right now? Is this kind? That's actually 0. I think it's number 3. Is this kind? If it's kind, it's unlikely to extend the web. Actually, that's number 2. Yeah. Number 1, is this true? Saying non-truth or partial truth, and yet 99% truth, 1% lie is the worst truth, or it's the worst kind of communication. That's what destroys. People who communicate like that need, if one person needs 6 weeks in treatment, someone whose communication pattern is 99% truth, 1% lie, they need 4 times longer in treatment. So if you're like that, you got your work cut out for you. Because you can't help but make very sophisticated webs, which will always implode. But the deep distrust that it sows when someone can't fully rely on you, but most of the time they can, it's going to take them a while. You'll fool them for many years, decades even. Gambling, and it's usually this, until the end, and then it gets just flagrant. So, if you speak and you vet what you say with these 3 things, chances are you will not be extending the web. Is it true? And if it's true, but remember, truth is sometimes the worst wound you can inflict on someone. Lots of perpetration happens with the truth. That's why you throw it in their face. It hurts because it's true. If something will never say something to you and it hurts, it's because there's true in it. Truth, it hurts the deepest. It's good for you to feel that. Maybe not all at once. But if someone ever does that to you, elevate. Thank them. They have their issues because they did that in anger, but you have something to work with. But don't do it to other people. In AA, they have a great sort of saying. Be hard on yourself. Go easy on everyone else. And that flies in the face of everything. Oh, go easy on yourself. You're so hard on yourself. No. You're hard on yourself in the ways that, what they mean by that is don't perpetrate on yourself. That's what they're talking about. Go easy on yourself. But when AA is talking about go hard on yourself, what they're talking is hard in terms of the work, hard in terms of the honesty, radical honesty about what you're doing. Is it true? 99% of something that comes out of your mouth is not true. True is only that which stays true for 100 years. That's true. Forever, actually, but 100 years is a good way to do it. But go easy on yourself. Try going a week. Say something that's going to be true in a week from now. See how easy that is. That's a good one. But true, be hard on yourself. Yeah, I just played up something. I had this habit. Sometimes it still slips out where I take something small and I just want to make it a little more than it is. It's dumb, but it's a habit that I have to kind of really examine, but it wouldn't have gone away unless I was hard. Who wants to call himself a liar? So, is it true? If it's true, next thing, is it kind? Is it helpful to that person to tell them this in this moment? Okay, if it is, good. Do you need to do it now? Or are you nagging? Or are you playing some other angle? Because if they don't listen, and it's not necessary, you're like that diver that tried to rescue someone that didn't want to be rescued. They're not going to appreciate it, you're not going to appreciate it. It's just going to be resentment all around, which is going to increase the likelihood of a drama triangle forming. I'm just spelling it out for you. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? This is how you can examine yourself in a hard way. And this will allow you to be easy on others. Other people have to do their own work. You have to let them be hard on themselves. If they're lucky, they will. But you can only know you. Only you can know if what you're saying is true. To the depths. Only you can know. So you need to be hard on yourself. In terms of recovery. In terms of self-exploration. Yeah, you might have been victimized a lot in life, but it's your life. And if you want your life back, you got to learn to examine yourself. Rather than examining what other people did to you. Justifying, that's a form of self-rescue, right? Yeah, they did this to me, so I'm okay to be feeling like this. You don't need someone else co-signing your own BS. You can do it yourself. Most do. But so this is not a short video. Oh well, we did it again. But drama is important. Take what fits, leave what doesn't. I apologize if I've offended anybody. Any further questions, comments? No. Helpful? Learn something? Drama webs. It's not just a triangle. Sorry, folks. It's a web. Thank you.